Thank you for listening to The Luminous Mind, episode 111.
My legacy is I want my family to know that I love them unconditionally with all of my heart, and that no matter what comes their way, they can get through it. Because let's face it, sometimes you do have mountains placed in your way.
Benjamin Franklin once said, "Do not curse the darkness, rather light a candle instead." If you're ready to set your mind on fire, then prepare yourself for the Luminous Mind with your host, Rebecca Bowman.
Today's fire starter is Tammy Ward. Tammy is the founder and president of Hope Haven Events. Hope Haven Events hosts conferences, retreats, trainings, specialty camps, and other events to help empower the individual, strengthen the family, and connect the community. She's a homeschooling mother of 8 awesome kids ages 10 months to 16 years. Tammy is a highly sought-after intuitive leader, presenter, and mentor. She is super excited to bring these events to the world and is best known for being a fun and inspirational mover and shaker. Her classes are known best for giving the audience tools that they can go home with and implement in their own life for real results. Tammy is learning a great deal from her real-life experience with Christ-centered energy healing, homeschooling, increasing confidence, overcoming money blocks, miracles, building community, and overcoming addictions by trusting Heavenly Father and our Savior Jesus Christ. She is pleased to share some of these experiences with you. She has been featured in Hasten magazine as a published author and loves joining in on radio shows, teaching on conference calls, webinars, and has several audio recordings of her own. Tammy's mission is to help prepare the home for the ushering in of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Welcome, Tammy.
Thank you so much for having me. You're awesome. That was very good.
It's going to be a fun conversation, as you can tell from her bio. She's a super busy lady, so I'm super excited that she joined us, and I'm excited to hear about all of the things that we discussed in that bio. So why don't you start off telling us a little bit about yourself, like your family, and maybe some of your hobbies and passions and your profession?
Okay, that's awesome. I would love to. It's my favorite topic to talk about, my family. So I have 8 kids, and my oldest daughter is actually currently taking cosmetology classes 40 hours a week right now. She also enjoys doing competitive ballroom dancing 4 other hours of the week, and she loves doing going to lagoon with her friends and being a regular teenager all at the same time. But she absolutely loves to read and always has, always will, I'm pretty sure. She has a passion for horses, and we have a couple of horses on our property up here in northern Utah. My next daughter absolutely loves all things energy healing, loves all things motivating. She has a gift to uplift others and really, really strive to help people that she knows. You'll often see her comments on Facebook where she's just giving people notes of encouragement and words of love, and just she's a full fireball that way. And she's my main photographer at all of my events. So if you ever come to any of my conferences, she'll be there taking pictures and helping with the presenters, putting on their audio recordings, all kinds of stuff like that. And she's also, along with my oldest daughter, presented at my conferences as well. And they both enjoy presenting. And she's also had some articles published in magazines. And she's got her own CD that she put out with her friend Zach, who's also another homeschool youth. And it's called Fearless Youth. It's also available on our website. And they just both love to inspire other youth, and they're really good at it. So that's pretty cool. My next daughter down, Roxy, she just loves all things babies. So she's like my main squeeze right now. She's my baby. They are like best friends. They actually look a great deal alike, too, like so much alike. Their faces, their smiles, their twinkle in their eyes. Like, I just cannot believe how much they really look alike, but it's pretty fun. She also enjoys helping me. She loves playing the piano and cooking and reading and exercising and just having a blast. So, and then I got 4 boys after those 3 girls. Oh, wow. And they just love playing together and having lots of fun. all things karate, all things gymnastics and things like that. They've taken several different gymnastics classes, but they find they get themselves kind of bored because they want to just keep excelling and they have to wait for others in the class. So I think that one of the goals that we have this year that we've talked about is to actually hire them a one-on-one gymnastics mentor because they are so ready to just go full speed, and that's their passion. So I'm super, supportive of helping my kids be supported with the resources that they need. And then, of course, we've got our little baby girls. So
sounds like you're a busy mom.
Oh, yes. Our house is always busy. And I don't like to be bored, so it's a good thing. It's a good combo, that's for sure. My husband's a UPS driver, and he's also started, just over the last 12 months or so, started presenting with me at our conferences. And his main passion that he loves is to uplift other dads, which is very cool to me.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of dads out there that could use a little bit of encouragement. They just don't know what to do to really get themselves out of the rut that they've been in or to really just go for it, and help lead their family. We've been doing about a zillion different things, but along with our business, we actually wanted a business that our family could do with us and move into that. And so that's one of the reasons why I personally love Hope Haven events so much is because it really is for families. And my kids can come to my events and they're comfortable there. They can help with presenting. They can help with audio recording or photography or just whatever it is. And they're just right there to jump in and help. And they love it, too. They love everything. All things Hope Haven, they love. In fact, my oldest daughter, Kylie, she actually named our company for us. We've done a couple mother-daughter retreats and mother-son retreats for homeschoolers. And I said to her, what do you think we should name this little thing that we're doing? And she said, how about Hope Haven events? And she just, blurted it out. And I was like, that's good. Hope is like medicine for the soul, right? Get you going. And Haven is like safety and security from the storm outside, and then events, we're all things events. So, Rebecca, it's been an incredible journey just since January 2014 when we did that very first winter homeschool conference. We have since done 18 conferences all around the country. And that's not counting our mother-daughter retreats and our energy healing retreats for moms and just all this other stuff that we've been doing alongside. These are our big conferences with at least 200 people, but they average about 500. We've been to 7 different states so far. Wow. And I know, right? Who knew? And we're just making a massive mark and helping so many people along the way. And of course, one of my main passions is helping homeschool moms. It was the very first large event that we did, Winter Homeschool Conference. We started out with 600 people at that very first one. And then, of course, in 2015, we had over 1,000. And this year, we are gearing up for 1,500. We've got room for 1,100 adults, and we've got room for 400 youth. And then for the first time ever at this conference, this coming January, we actually have room for a ton of kids as well. We've been told that people that are coming from long distances would like to bring their kids, so they wanted to have something for them. And we're definitely a family-oriented company. We wanted to be able to heed that call as well. So we've hired a traveling reptile show to come in and do a demonstration for kids and for the youth. We've got ballroom dancing classes for both age groups as well. In fact, we even have a ballroom dancing competition where there's several studios that are going to be coming in, and we're going to let the audience members judge. So that'll be a lot of fun.
Awesome. If you go back and listen, I actually did a podcast when we attended the Winter Homeschool Conference, just interviewing some of the people there. That was really fun. But I was really surprised, all the children that were there and the classes that you had. I've never seen a conference that caters so much to families. So I was pretty impressed with that. So with your passion with families, how did you end up traveling? How did you begin traveling on this road of with homeschooling and then also, with your passion for doing conferences and stuff like that?
Well, for a few years, I have felt like Northern Utah was missing something and that we needed just some more support. There were several conferences that were down in the Utah County area, but nothing really north of that at that point. UHEA convention has been around for 35 years, and it's been an amazing resource for so many people. But just the northern part of the state had just been kind of empty. And so I prayed about it, actually, and I asked Heavenly Father if that would be a need, because my ultimate desire was to help support other homeschool moms. I'd seen a common trend of many homeschool families end up putting their kids back in school right around January, February. And I wanted to be able to give them a way to strengthen their family along with this mission that they felt that they were supposed to endure and not just endure, but really to thrive with. Yet they weren't really getting what they needed to be able to do that. And so that's why I put that very first one together. And I'm so glad I did. I mean, 600 people, we had no idea we were going to be received so well.
Yeah.
And, you know.
And when did you begin that one? When was that first one?
That was January of 2014. So
oh, my goodness. Yeah.
Was just last year.
Yeah.
I know. That's crazy. What's happened since then.
Wow.
I'm so glad. And then just January of 2015, we had over 1,000 people. And, you know, we monitored kind of like the proximity to how, if it was just northern Utah-ites that were coming, or if it was people that were traveling longer distances as well. And what we learned was that we actually had people coming from 13 states.
Oh, my goodness.
People
wow.
were literally just being drawn and attracted to our event. And we also had people from Australia and Canada as well. This year, we already have hundreds registered and coming, including several international guests as well. This has definitely become a massive conference. We are very excited about it.
That is really neat. So tell us how you feel like your paradigm and your philosophy kind of has changed over time and with experience with family and as well as like with your homeschooling and how you're helping other people. That's such a loaded question.
That totally is, but I'm absolutely happy to answer it. You know, there's lots of different ways to homeschool your family, and who am I to say that one way is the best, right?
Yeah.
But I know that there is one way that's best for my family, for my particular family. So in no way, shape, or form am I here to tell other families how to do it and, like, what's best for them. But for my family, when we first began homeschooling, we actually tried doing basically public school at home. So we got down and did a schedule like math is from this time and science is from this time. And it was literally very, very much like just a regular elementary school class. And I found that that didn't work very well for my family specifically. And rather what happened is I went to a class, Asha Takis, from Cache Valley. She taught a local class to some local moms. I think it was something about unit studies, to be honest with you. I don't remember the exact name. But we went to that, and I got so fired up, believing and really having my paradigm shifted, like you put it, about how you can have different things that your kids are interested in learning and have all those subjects coupled into one thing. And so I asked my kids, well, what do you guys want to learn about? And let's just say, for example, that they wanted to learn about trains. Trains is pretty easy, right?
Yeah.
We tracked down everything that all field trips that we could do that were, you know, according to trains. So the Golden Spike is up here in Box Elder County. There's the Union Station Museum just in Ogden, Utah, which is, you know, not too far from us as well. Of course, we found a hobby store with some toy train models. And, you know, there's lots of different places that you could really go. So we wrote those all down. And then we're like, okay, now that's the hands-on. Now what's next? So where my kids were in math, I actually developed just simple math problems, stories. As we were driving down the road, I would ask them different questions, and I would get their minds thinking. These are just like while you're out and about. Some people call it car school. But I would just get their minds going, and because that was something that was really critical at that time, I want their minds to think differently.
Oh, that's really
as well
neat.
as, thank you. As well as that kind of thing, we would have them do creative writing all about trains. And so, you know, Boxcar Children was definitely a huge hit for my kids. During this unit study, my girls just devoured everything Boxcar Children at the time. And we would talk about different characters and different character traits that they had or that they were missing and different things, how they could do that. You know, and right along with that, there's all these character stories that you could develop around trains, different connections, where your track is taking you, how others see you from a distance and from close up. There's all
that
kinds
is
of
neat.
things scientific that you can learn with trains as well. I mean, there's the Morse code, right? How they connect and communicate with each other. And then, of course, you can go in to spiritual communication and family communication. I mean, really, you can, like, I'm just giving you some examples, but my gosh, once you sit down and you really start going at it, what does my family need and how can I connect this with this unit study? The sky is the limit. You can really go for as little time as you want if they're not very interested, or if you get really excited and they're excited too, you could take a unit study really out to be a whole month long.
Yeah.
And specifically, I choose to go by how my family's doing and if I'm getting more inspiration that they need. I'm always looking online for new ideas around the units that we're on. But for our family, we actually sit down and we create a list of everything that they want to learn about. So they're very involved in their choice. What is it that you want to learn about? They'll shock you. They'll surprise you. Sometimes they'll be like, oh, I want to learn about a beehive. Oh, my goodness. I can teach them all kinds of amazing things about life and about reality and tools that they're going to need in their life, but also things like math and science and English. I mean, one of my daughter's favorite ways to learn about punctuation was I would give them a topic, like I would find a scripture. I'll just tell you what I do. I find a scripture that has their theme into it. And then that could be their creative writing topic. Wow. And then they would go ahead on their laptop, they would, or, their family computer, and they would type out their story. And some of them would hand me back 16 pages. Here's my story, Mom. And some of them would hand me back a paragraph, depending on where they are, And then what I would do is on their printed out copy, I would take a highlighter and I would go through and I would proofread it. And I would say, okay, here's the corrections. Go ahead and make them. And I wouldn't explain any of the hows or the whys. I would just give it back to them. They would go back and change them back to where they needed to be, adding a period here or capitalizing. And pretty soon, after just a few times of doing that, they didn't need to be told where to put the quotation marks anymore. They didn't need to be told to capitalize the sentence at the beginning. It just became automatic because once they saw that error being repeated several times, they knew that that needed to be done. So, I mean, this is like so different than what other people do where they take an English textbook and go through every single rule.
Yeah.
My kids might not be able to do, some of those rules per se until they're older, right? And I mean, you learn it for the ACT or something like that. Then they'll learn it. But they know how to do proper English. They know how to do proper, punctuation and stuff. And so that's been kind of cool to be able to do that. So that's what we do. I guess you could call it unit studies. And of course, in every single unit study, we have at least one or two classics. We do family read aloud with that. We also do where the older kids will have additional classics that they'll read as part of their unit. We did a huge underwater animal unit study one year. They loved it. And so what we did was at the beginning of the morning, we would have them watch a little YouTube tutorial on how to draw an underwater animal. And they would, of course, get to choose which animal it was. Then when they were done with that, watching the little, 10-minute tutorial, they would each have their own drawing pads, and they would practice drawing these animals while we would listen to Treasure Island. And, I mean, Treasure Island is like one of those classics that's got like a small amount of cussing in it, right?
Yeah.
And he's talking about like totally getting drunk and things like that. So I was able to like stop it from time to time and share about my thoughts on that. Where do you find real treasure? And is this pleasing unto God to be able to just throw yourself away and to think these negative thoughts about yourself? And anyway, like those are just a couple of examples of how you can tie a unit in with a classic. And it was just awesome, so awesome
great.
to just watch them go.
Tell us kind of how your family has received that. You talked about schooling at home. I mean, how has the learning changed for them? And tell me their growth, maybe your success from that, of what you've seen.
Well, one of the things that I've always encouraged with my kids is I want them to be able to feel free and to have that freedom to go after their passions. Things that really move them, because we all have different interests and we all have different gifts and strengths, right?
Yeah.
And so I wanted my kids to know that I fully support them. And my daughter Kylie, my oldest daughter, when she was 11 years old, she said, I just really don't want to learn about anything that you're telling me. And I think that a lot of moms experience that right around the time that their kids are, especially girls, 10, 11, 12, right?
Yeah.
And so I was really frustrated, and I was like, I don't know what to do. So I went to the Lord, and I got on my knees, and I literally put pen to paper and said, she's your daughter too. Tell me what she needs. And I said, I'm not getting off my knees until I get an answer. I was kind of a little obstinate mama, right? Like, I need help. This is serious, you know? And he told me what I needed to do next with her. And so the thing that she specifically needed at that time was to have a creative outlet. And so we did. We started actually doing some groups with other local homeschool girls. We started a homeschool future mothers chapter of our own. And we actually would cook once a week, and we would do a sewing project. And since that's not my strength, I invited other moms to help me with that. We also put a cookbook together. All the girls were in charge of bringing 5 recipes of their own, and we compiled a cookbook together. And we did all kinds of stuff. Like, we put together babysitting packets so that they could get more experience with that. Anyway, she just loved that. The next thing that I specifically was told at that time was have her begin her own blog. And so she has a blog, and if anybody wants to go check it out, she'll be totally ticked at me for telling you. But I want to tell you because it's so cool. She has, like, some of her favorite book reviews on there, as well as some of her favorite recipes. And she just goes over, like, it's so funny because, like, you look at it, and it's kind of like a journal for her on lots of different things. Like, when I had my baby 3 years ago, you'll see, like, pictures on there and pictures of our goats and all kinds of stuff like that. But it's Laughter and Sparkle. If you just Google Laughter and Sparkle, it'll come up. And ironically enough, she started doing her own tutorials, her own hair tutorials, and
cool.
Really developed a strong passion for helping people feel beautiful. And I know she's actually been invited to speak at other people's conferences as well, helping women, especially young girls, to find their true sense of worth and to help them to develop their confidence. And so here she is now. She's doing cosmetology. She's more than halfway through, and she goes around and she teaches, like, free hair classes and free makeup classes. But really her ultimate push and her ultimate desire is to help people feel beautiful on the inside and out. And you can tell I'm kind of a braggy mom, right? Like, oh my gosh, there's my girl, you go, girl, you know?
Yeah.
And she's very inspiring to listen to and to watch and to see what she's been able to come up with. Now, Laughter and Sparkle once was her blog that she started when she was 11. But now, that's actually the name of her company. She's getting business cards made with the Laughter and Sparkle logo on it, and she loves it. So it's kind of fun. Some people are like, well, yeah, but does she actually do schoolwork? Well, yeah, she may have started this little blog to have this writing and creative outlet, but my goodness, that girl can sit down and read a 1,000-page book in one day easily. And when she got tested, easily up into college level. There's no reason why she couldn't go in and pass an ACT right now.
That's
However,
awesome.
She wants to be able to pass through cosmetology. She's got her own drive, right? She's got her own passions. So after she's done with this, which will probably be in the spring next year, she's going to take it to the next level and get her master's aesthetics license. And then she wants to go ahead and just really dive in and study so that she can get the top ACT score that she can.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm so proud of her. Like, some people are like, well, yeah, but how come she's not going to school for 8 hours a day? Or how come she's not in her bedroom studying? Well, for some people, that might be healthy. But for others, it's actually healthy for them to be having a creation mentality where they are constantly creating and have a connection with others. Yeah. And so am I to say that one is better for another.
Yeah.
I just want to help my kids to go after their passions and be their best selves.
Yeah, so. Kind of like what you were saying. I mean, I totally agree with, we just need to be supportive of how each other is schooling their children in ways that we can help one another instead of being so judgmental
it's so
about
true.
it. Yeah, I totally agree with that idea that you're not there to judge somebody else on how they want to do their education. Before we go on, let us take a minute and hear about our sponsors. Changing a paradigm takes some study, but like me, you are probably super busy. That's why we've teamed up with Audible. Go to our website, theluminousmind.net, get a free month of Audible with 2 audiobooks. thousands of titles in exchange for only books that you absolutely love. You too can be learning on the go to keep that fire burning. Welcome back to The Luminous Mind with Tammy Ward with Hope Haven Events. So you talked about some of those obstacles, of things that you've done with your daughter. Do you feel like there's any other obstacles that you faced? And then maybe what have you learned from going through those struggles?
Okay, so that very first year, we had started doing the unit studies, and we were just having a blast. But then I started doubting myself, feeling like I was not good enough. I honestly went through this whole phase. It was about a month and a half, where I was like, I'm not teaching my kids what they need. And honestly, I was listening to other outside voices instead of really trusting God and doing what He told me to do. And so I signed up for this government-funded, and I'm not all against government funding, so don't take it that way. But because it was government-funded, I'm just voicing that. And so it was government-funded, and it was like basically a box curriculum that came to my house. And I was having the kids for about a month and a half. They started to pursue this. And then one day I walked into my dining room, and there's all my kids. This is where my daughter, by the way, is, we started homeschooling her when she was about 8. And I believe this was when she was about 10. It was right around there. And I walked into the dining room, and I looked at them, and I was like, something's been going on. I'm like, hey, guys, what's going on? And my daughter says, Mom, come in and sit down. We've had a meeting. And I was like, what on earth? So I was like, okay. So I sat down, and I was like, what's up? And she's like, well, you know how you taught us about the Newsies? Because we just recently watched that. I'm like, yeah. And you know how they went on strike? I'm like, yeah. Keep talking. And she said, well, we've decided that we're going to go on strike against your school.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, wait a minute, what? And at first, I kind of have to tell you, I was really irate because I thought, I am doing it so that you don't miss anything. Like, I'm doing it this way so there's no holes in your education, right? Like, I want you to know everything you're supposed to know by the time you get to the end here. I'm thinking of you, right? And here you're going on strike. Like, I was really upset. And I actually removed myself from the room because I didn't want them to steal that. I walked into the other room, and I said a quick prayer, and the voice that came into my head said, you are raising leaders, aren't you? And I went, I do want them to be leaders, and I do want them to have a say in their education. So with tears in my eyes, I went back in the room, and I sat down at the dining room table, and I said, tell me what your school is going to look like. And that when we went back to doing unit studies in the way that we do it, because it's fun. They get a say. It's filled with passion. And it's more exciting for me, too.
Yeah.
Not just for them. I mean, I hated going through the grueling process of just checking off things just to say we got them done. Worksheets, not my thing. We do occasionally do worksheets, but it's not like what I want to have my kids be doing from 9 to 5. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Exactly. So, well, and when you were talking about that unit studies, I was just feeling like the joy. It just irradiated out of, that whole conversation. So you could tell that it's really something that you're meant to do because you're just so excited about it. That's pretty awesome.
It's true.
So let's talk a little bit about your conferences, retreats, your trainings. You have specialty camps, just the ways that you're helping to empower other individuals and strengthen those families. And that may be huge because you were just saying that you're just telling me all the different places that you've been, but I'd love to hear more about that and maybe some successes that you've seen.
That's awesome. Well, one of my favorite passions right now is actually mentoring. I did not realize the value of a mentor enough. I personally have read some of the books on Thomas Jefferson education, and I've read some of the books out there on being a strong, powerful homeschool mom. And they go back over and over about the power of being a mentor and the power of getting a mentor as well. So not just being a mentor to your kids, but also getting a mentor. And I don't think that really sunk in enough. Like, here I was basically, do I dare use this word? I was basically being a hypocrite. I was telling my kids how important it was for them to have a mentor, and I did not myself have a mentor. So there was a flaw there. There was something missing. And I did not realize that. And in fact, it wasn't until this past March, that I hired a mentor myself. And when I did the whole give and receive cycle, like I sacrificed something and invested something in myself to get a mentor, somebody that I respected greatly, that had what I wanted, had a bigger picture, had a greater vision. They've accomplished many things in their life. I went like so far beyond where I've ever been. Really, truly, getting a mentor has changed my whole family's life, not just, me personally, but on so many different levels. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples on how it's flowed over to other parts of my life, because I really did hire this mentor to help me to be able to help more people. I wanted to be able to make my events have a further reach and be able to expand that reach. And so that was the main purpose of why I hired this mentor. So rather what happened is it helped me to overflow in so many areas of my life. Just since then, I have recently let go of, I want to be able to tell you this, but some people, I can just feel it might rub them the wrong way. So I've been able to let go of 14.5% body fat.
Oh, wow.
And that's not weight, that's actual body fat. So I feel better, I can move easier. My whole perspective on many things have changed because of the way that I feel like I can get out of bed easier, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I can do a cartwheel. There's big things that have changed because as a direct result of that. In addition to that, my income has gone up. My events have absolutely been able to expand. Our June conference that we just had here in Ogden, we had 1,600 people at that conference.
Wow.
And I know the number of people that we've been able to bless because of our audio has also increased. People go to our audio library all the time now and download classes, whether it's on homeschooling or energy healing or even just the power of your mind. I mean, there's so many different things out there that we have audios on. And so the reach has definitely expanded. We'll just put it that way. My relationships with my family has definitely improved as well.
Yeah.
So, you get a mentor for one thing, but you don't realize how much it's going to help you on so many different levels. And I myself I'm kind of Carol Tuttle is going to be our big keynote speaker at the Winter Homeschool Conference this January.
Uh-huh.
And for those of your listeners who are familiar with her stuff, she talks about 4 different energy styles, the 4 different energies that people have. And the type 1, her first one, it's people who generally have big ideas and they're very social. And so she talks about their strengths, but then she also talks about, some of the things that they need to work on. Well, one of the things that a type 1 generally has to work on is organization and follow through. Well, I just have to tell you, you cannot host these large conferences if you don't have follow through.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know what I'm saying? You have to, there's a deadline. You have to show up. There's things that have to take place as a result of, you doing a conference. And so I've been able to learn so much, and my mentors helped me really take my whole life to the next level.
Wow.
And
when you talk about losing the weight, it's probably a lot of that has to do with stress. I mean, maybe a mentor helps you get over some of those mental blocks that we put on ourselves and we don't even realize it. And then in your bio, you talked about overcoming addictions, so that we're trusting our maker a little bit more. And do you feel like your mentor helped you do that as well?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I consider my relationship with my Heavenly Father to be very, very strong and deep. However, there were things that I was not willing to let go of, and I didn't even realize that until I got a mentor. And so, a mentor can actually help inspire you and move you to the next level when you thought you were there. But no, they can see you more. And that's why when you're choosing a mentor, there's a couple key things to remember here. One, you have to obviously gravitate to their energy. You have to desire what they want or what they have. And you want to choose a mentor who has experience in helping others. Don't just choose somebody who says they're a mentor. Find somebody who actually has testimonials of people who have reached their goals as a direct result of having that mentor. I have group mentoring experiences. One of them is called Sparking Greatness. one that your homeschool moms and dads might feel a little bit more gravitational pull towards that. We talk a great deal for homeschool families on things like organizing your home and getting order, right? Improving your relationships, your physical, mental, spiritual, emotional. Like, we go through the whole thing. And as a direct result of the parents stepping up and getting a mentor in that way, it actually flows over and helps the kids. And, my mentor was $30,000 to hire my mentor.
Holy cow.
And
yeah.
I love people who are like, I wonder how much you're going to charge. Well, if you go to my website, under the mentoring tab, you'll see that I have 6 different mentoring options there. But I don't charge $30,000.
Wow.
Rather, if you get in on a group mentoring experience, the Sparking Greatness one, for example, that's only $50 a month for the whole family.
Wow.
And I've had lots of business coaches that have told me, you're not charging enough, you're not charging enough, you're not charging enough. And I said, you don't understand. One of my biggest goals is to help homeschool families. And $50 a month extra is a stretch for some of them that I'm personally supposed to reach.
Wow.
And so
yeah.
I want to increase the value and make their value be thousands of dollars worth. I know the value's there, but I want to make it so that any homeschool family can afford it no matter what.
Yeah. We really do need to really reflect on, there is a scripture that talks about in the counsel of one or more, anyway, that we need to counsel with others to find that. I'm just totally paraphrasing and slaughtering it, but it's really important for us to think about that coming together with other people and bouncing ideas off them and stuff like that really does help us, like you said, see some of those mental blocks or those, overcoming some of those things that we can't see when we're just working by ourselves. Do you feel that way then?
Oh, yes, it's so true. And, mentoring to me is way more than just having an accountability partner. It's so much more than that. And, of course, my mentoring groups that we actually have those experiences, we do set up a Facebook group that is private just to them. And we have, different inspirements, I like to call them, because if you feel inspired to do them, then you can do them. But they help take you to the next level. And if you'd like to read any of the testimonials on there, because I know you were just asking for some of the successes and stories of things that we've been able to accomplish with that. But I know for sake of time here, if people are interested in that, they can just go right on to either winterhomeschoolconference.com and click on the mentoring tab, or hopehavenevents.com. And then again, that mentoring tab is there as well. I also have felt very driven to help people with entrepreneurship. And so some of your listeners may remember some of my entrepreneur fairs that I put on for homeschool youth. We put on many of them up and down the Wasatch Front, and they've been very successful, pushing thousands of dollars through their fingers, and in just a short amount of time, just a few hours here and there.
Wow.
And others have been inspired by that same cause and stepped up to do that for their communities as well. And I love it so much. In fact, it's almost like I can feel the spirits of the founding fathers walking around the entrepreneur fair, encouraging those youth and inspiring them to keep going. And sometimes it can be discouraging if somebody walks past your table and they don't purchase from you, but to help them to realize you start here and then you just keep moving up. Awesome. They say that the backbone of America is the entrepreneurs that are here today.
Yeah. Well, and it gives us so much freedom that we can't get, especially when you want to do stuff like you said. Your business is all very family oriented. So many of our lives are so disconnected because we're going off to so many different places. But when we can, have our own business and be an entrepreneur, it allows us so much freedom and independence that we couldn't get otherwise.
True.
That is
really
awesome.
True.
That's great. So do you want to just share with us maybe some other personal habits that you have that you think help to add to your success?
I would love to share some of those. So this is mega worth a ton. So for those of you that are listening, you want to grab a notebook for some of this. This is $1,000 worth of yumminess right here. Okay. So the very first thing that I would tell you is to write a story. And this sounds kind of crazy. You're like, really? You want me to write a story? Yes. I want you to write a story of what your mind can do. Write a story of what you want your life to be like. What is it like when you wake up in the morning? What is it like when you go to sleep? What is it like when you tuck your kids into bed? How does it feel when you reach some of your greatest goals? How does it feel when you walk How does it feel when you move? And talk about all the different areas of your life. And I actually compartmentalize them just a little bit so that I can get more specific. So one of them might be my physical body, and I write a story. And it could be a paragraph long to start you out, but then expand on it in detail. And then I go on to my thoughts and the power of my mind. Then I take it to the next level, and I also put my family relationships and people that I connect with. I take it to my home next. How does it feel when you walk in the front door? What does the order look like? What kind of decorations do you have? What kind of connections are made there on a regular basis? The pictures on the wall. I feel seriously deep here. Then what I would suggest that you do is to record that with music on your phone, somewhere where you can listen to it often. And I will actually listen to my story first thing when I wake up in the morning, and then also last thing that I listen to before I go to bed.
Oh, wow.
And I generally will listen to my story about 3 to 5 times during the day. Each of my kids have their own stories recorded, and they can listen to them as well.
Is that to kind of create a vision for your life? Is that what you're doing?
Oh, yes. And if you record it with music, that is actually helping you to get through a subconscious barrier, because you're going to be talking to yourself in positive present tense. When I start out my recording, some of your listeners are going to think this is totally kooky, and for them, that's okay. But for the rest of you, you're like, okay, I want to create. This is what you do. You seriously record it with music and talk to yourself right in the beginning. Mine sounds something like this, and this is being super raw here, okay? Tammy, this is your life. You get to create it however you want. What does it look like? Well, let me tell you what your story looks like. And then I go into my story. And so I'm literally talking to myself throughout the whole thing, as if my story is happening. I run a 5K with my kids every single year in the fall and also in the spring. That's my body is awesome. I have energy. When I look in the mirror, I love what I see. My biceps have a nice curve, and that puts a smile on my face. I'm not kidding you. I get really detailed here. Of course, I have a huge section in there about my homeschooling experience as well, how my kids are inspired, how they move forward with their goals. Since I've been doing this, we've had huge mountains that I never thought would literally move out of our way.
That's cool.
And the emotional health of my kids, where we were struggling before, has literally just smoothed out. And it's like a different family. And I'm being so totally serious here. We literally have been able to move mountains. And this is based off of this one habit of listening to the story. And I change my story about every 2 to 3 months, just like with seasons. I will re-record a new story, and I will get a little bit more clarity on what I do want. And I will take the few minutes that it takes to record that story. And when we first started doing it, my whole family was not in on this. They were like, this is weird. Talking to yourself, telling yourself stories. But if you think about it, perspective is everything. How you believe God sees you, how you believe that others see you, how you see yourself. This literally does affect how you act on a daily basis. And so to have a mentor that will help me with that personally has changed so much. And so this is one of my greatest desires, is to help people to create their stories how they see fit. So this would be one of my best mentoring tools that I've ever given someone.
That's awesome. Well, it kind of reminds me of leaving a legacy. I really love that word, legacy, of what we're going to leave behind for other people. What is your legacy?
My legacy is I want my family to know that I love them unconditionally with all of my heart, and that no matter what comes their way, they can get through it. Because let's face it, sometimes you do have mountains placed in your way, and you need help to smooth them out and to get on the other side. I want them to know that they have the power to do that. And I believe that the stories that we create in our own mind can do that, as well as many other tools. But, we'll start with that one, right?
Yeah.
So my legacy is also that they not only can help themselves, but that they can help change the whole world. I don't want them to know that it's just about them. I hope I get too emotional here. But one of my greatest joys is to be able to help others to be able to overcome their mountains. Because you see here, Rebecca, just a couple of years ago, we couldn't replace the light bulbs in our house. Wow. Because we didn't have the financial means to do so. We struggled with some serious emotional trauma that has happened in our family, things that you don't always have the power to protect your loved ones from. You look back on it and say, I wish I could have changed this. I wish I could have changed that. Sometimes you don't always have the power to do things in exactly the right way.
Yeah.
And some things are put in your path to help make you a stronger person as well, But because of these things, they've actually made us stronger. And I'm actually grateful for that opposition, because I don't believe that I would have stepped out into who I am today and been able to bless so many people's lives.
Yeah.
And, for someone like me, I have a book that we put out, I'll just tell you this, called The Healer's Call. And it's 11 different authors. Actually, more than half of them are homeschool moms and dads. I should add that. But there's a couple guys in there, too. They're homeschool dads. In the story, I thought that I was writing the story so I could tell about some of the miracles that I've been able to witness because of energy healing. But rather, the Lord had me stop and write about overcoming addictions. When I was a young teenager, my dad was actually do I say this? My dad was a drug dealer.
Oh, wow.
And I know, right? So a lot of people that know me well don't know that. And so here I'm sharing some really raw stuff here, but I feel I'm supposed to share it, so I'm going to share it right now. And, as a direct result of that, I could have whatever I wanted, and I became very seriously addicted to meth.
Oh, my goodness.
The statistics show that only 1 out of every 100 people ever get out of that addiction truly. And I feel so blessed that I was able to share my story of how I was able to do that because of Jesus Christ in that story called The Healer's Call. And, you'll see that book for sale at my conferences. We usually mark them down on sale for $10 at my events. We also do couples classes, and there's so many different things that we offer. And so you can find out about all of our events at hopehavenevents.com is our main hub. But I just feel so strongly that it doesn't matter what comes your way. It doesn't matter, even if the people that you expect to protect you are not able to because of whatever, whatever they felt that they needed to do what they did. But I just hear it as proof. I'm here as proof and to stand as a witness that it doesn't matter what you're given. You can overcome it. You can overcome it.
Wow.
And the mountains that we have overcome,
wow,
they stand as a testifier of truth and a witness that you can overcome anything. Wow. And so that's the legacy I hope to leave.
That is amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. I really feel like, I'm going to do a little bit of expanding here of my own of what I think. But, I really think that sometimes God puts us through some really difficult things so that we can turn that energy back and help others. And I see that in your life. And I just am so in awe of that. So thank you so much for sharing that with us and for taking the time to talk to me. Now, before we say goodbye, do you want to go ahead and just reiterate all your contact information so that our listeners can get in touch with you?
Absolutely. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to give all your listeners a very special discount.
Awesome.
And, this isn't something that I've done anywhere else. I know. Because, you look at other homeschool conferences and they're upwards of $35, $45, $55 a person to get into a conference. But I felt very inspired to share with your listeners specifically a coupon code so that they can get into our conference more affordably. And I want them to also keep in mind that these tickets are only available until we sell out because we are filling this conference at this year. So if you go on the website right now, they actually are priced at about $20 to $25, depending on if it's an adult or a youth ticket. But I'm going to give your listeners the code FRIENDS15, and that will get them in the door for $15 for youth, and then FRIENDS20, which will get all of your adult listeners in. And that is for the full day, and that includes the huge family party that we're doing in the evening with the competitive ballroom dancing competition. We're also doing some kiting contests and the limbo. We've got so much planned. We're also doing a special screening of some unique homeschool movies that you can't buy yet. So there's so much going on in the evening, but that alone is worth $15 or $20.
That's
I want to give your listeners an opportunity to come, to be uplifted. I don't want there to be any reason why people can't come. We also are getting some hotel discounts that are local to our conference up on the website soon, so you can come super affordably and stay. So yeah, that coupon code will be good, clear until the end of November. So.
Oh, great. Okay, good. And the Winter Homeschool Conference, what date do you have selected on that?
It's January 30th. And like I said, we already have hundreds registered. But all you need to do is go to winterhomeschoolconference.com. We are adding new presenter information and new information about the party on there every day. So there'll be lots of good stuff there. And
I hope to be joining you again this year, so that'd be great.
Oh, you better get a vendor spot if you want one, because they're going fast. People know that this attracts such a huge audience. But we would love to have you there also, Rebecca. Thank you for everything that you do, for the content that you distribute to people, and for the blessing that you are as well.
Thank you so much for joining us. I've been so inspired by your words, and I really appreciate your time. So thanks so much.
You're awesome. See you later.
Thank you for listening to The Luminous Mind. To learn more about Tammy Ward and Hope Haven events, go to our show notes at theluminousmind.net. Be sure to become a subscriber to our free email list and consider joining our program by going to the scheduling tab to become a fire starter today. Help support the podcast by making all your Amazon purchases through the free Amazon widget on our website. Also, sign up to receive 2 free audiobooks from Audible at theluminousmind.net. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, Google+, and now Pinterest. Get our audio content by subscribing on YouTube, iTunes, and Stitcher. To help us grow, consider telling your friends about us. Leave us a review. Tell us how we can help you so together we can continue to light minds on fire and change the paradigm of education.